Right. You're absolutely right. And I know in some educational systems, they have this no tolerance policy, and that which discourages a lot of young people from succeeding in schools.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if it's here in Waterbury. Like I said again, it's down. And I'm like, who created a no tolerance policy for a child not to get educated?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you should be able to tolerate any child who's going through something to try. If they're not learning in a certain way, I think you should find out what's the best way they can learn. Because a lot of kids don't learn the same way, the normal way everyone else. You have to teach them, like you said, you have to repeat it over and over and over, like drill it in. Some kids you can tell one time and they get it.
And that is a great point that you hit on. School systems, I know in Ohio, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, so I know what we had at the time, and I believe it's still the same way. 2.0 is a grade point average.
Really?
You think about a 2.0, to play sports, that's nothing. You only got to really put your name on a paper and show up to class every day.
Right.
That's like a C minus. You telling these kids, you're setting them up for failure right away.
Right.
You tell them that's all you need to play, athletic sports. That to me, I think you're letting these kids feel like they don't have to do anything.
I just think I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just glad that we have places like the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, and actually in Waterbury they're building a lot of parks. They're rebuilding the parks so they have kids have place to go. I'd rather have them be at the parks playing basketball, working on their game instead of being out doing all these negative things. So with places like the Boys and Girls Club, we were working there together. He was my head counselor, but it was fun working with the kids because we get to somewhat alter the way of thinking into being a better person than to be the way that they already are. Like this one kid that we had, I won't say his name, he came in with like a stuck-up attitude. And then the last week of camp, he was like one of the best kids there.
Right.
And so he was one of my favorite kids at that point, and I still like him. But, with people like Greg Neal, I saw him change his attitude.
Right. He probably just needed some attention.
And that's just one kid.
Right.
And so if we can do that with all these other kids, we can change, what's going on in the world today, because the youth is what is going to be our future.
Yeah, but if you make a difference with one, believe me, that's a big, 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 success if you can change one child. And getting back to the kids and like you said, you're creating more, trying to get more parks open and everything. My only concern about the children going to the parks, and you can create all these outside events for them, but they need to be monitored because whenever you do create something for kids, there's always some, like you said, it's an environment. It's just an open door for somebody to come in and ruin it. And I hate to say it like that, but it is a sad case. I see a lot of times where they open basketball courts and they open new parks for children, and then the wrong people come there and take it over.
There's no one to monitor.
Right. They need someone to monitor the activity that goes there.
Yeah. And as far as, going back to, that's the way of thinking, you want to change the way these kids think, because if we can do that, they wouldn't be messing up the parks.
But I think the parents need to get involved too.
Oh, yeah. That's
because when, like I said, we were growing up, an adult could see you walking down the street and they did not have to know your parents. And they could tell you to stop doing something. I'm going to tell your mother, I'm going to tell your father. You would stop doing it and get terrified, like, I don't know this lady, how she knows, but you wouldn't do it. But nowadays, and it's sad, some adults are intimidated by children. No, I'm not saying anything to that kid. That kid might curse me out. I don't know what that kid, that's the key word, kid.
Exactly.
You're the adult, they're the child. I don't know, a lot of people are saying, yeah, but you don't know what kids may do. When are you going to step up and start being a parent and being respectful and take your role back in the community? Until that time, we're going to lose a lot of our children to the streets.
Exactly.
And I think it's sad how some of these kids have a lack of respect for parents.
They do.
Because they talk bad, like just things that I can't even say on TV.
Right.
But it's just, I can never do that to my parents. I can't think about making a fist to my parents, but some of these kids, they swing and they attack and they say all these bad words, and then when they do that to their parents, they think it's cool to do it to the other kids outside the home.
Because you know what? They created this thing called 911. If your parents put their hands on you, you can call 911 and get your parent arrested. A parent is allowed to discipline their child, not to abuse their child. And that's what the law should clearly state. A lot of these kids think they can be disrespectful and be rude to their teachers, their parents, and anyone that walk down the street because of that 911 law. I'm going to call because you can't put your hands on me. Oh, yes, I could discipline you. I can spank you. You can get a spanking, but I'm not going to sit up here and bruise you. I'm going to discipline you so you know how to respect an adult.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything you guys are saying, you know, and I sit here and chuckle. I know it's not a laughing matter, but it's like
they're taking over.
You can't be afraid of a child.
You cannot.
I don't care if it's your child, not your child. You can't be afraid of a child. It takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. And when you were saying that earlier, that's the first thing that came to my mind was it takes a village to raise a child. And you can't go out and just ignore everything that's going on. Like a couple weeks ago, I'm coming from the Boys and Girls Club, see some kids outside about to fight each other. I could have just drove by, or I could have even just sat back and watched. No, I pulled over, got out and said, what's going on? You know, let them know that there's an adult out there that actually cares about what's going on.
Right.
You know, I went over there, told them, hey, you go your way, you go your way. Shake hands before you do so. You know, you got to be able to step out there